My name is Rituparna Ghosh and I welcome you to Voyage of Stories. We started this campaign on the 20th of March around World Storytelling Day with YSB tribe of storytellers sharing myths, legends and folktales from around the world. And isn't it wonderful? In a time of lockdown when we have nowhere to go, at least we have stories to take us around the world. The story that I'm going to share with you comes somewhere from Central Asia, the land of Mullah Nasiruddin. And this is a story that has been at the top of my mind ever since we've been in a lockdown. You see, I've been conducting workshops and sessions, I've been recording a lot of stories, having online meetings, and the one thing which I've not been really bothered about is what am I going to wear? Because I'm at home and it's understood that I'm going to be in comfortable clothes. And for once, I'm not bothered about the closet of clothes in my house. Am I repeating them or am I being photographed a lot in them? Well, where did I get this wisdom from? And I think this lockdown or this moment in our lives when we sort of slow down is helping me at least sort of recalibrate my brain and think about my priorities in life. And this little wisdom of what do I wear and what am I taken as comes from Mullah and this story. Now, Mullah in his lifetime did many things for his livelihood. At one point of time, he was a carpenter. On this one day, he had been up since dawn working in his shed with his tools. He had something to finish, and so he was completely engrossed in his work. He was dirty, he was musty, he had grease all over his face and his clothes, his hair was ruffled and had sawdust all in it. But he was so engrossed that he forgot to eat, he forgot how the hours passed, and from morning till afternoon, till it was time, it was dusk, he was busy with his work. His wife Aisha suddenly remembered that today is the day that he had to go for dinner at his friend's place. His friend who lived right across his house. And there was a banquet, a feast of sorts. And all his friends were invited. Ibrahim had invited Mullah too. And she realized that I think Mullah has forgotten that he has to go for dinner tonight. So she rushed into his shed and said, Mullah, have you forgotten? You have an invitation for dinner tonight. Let's get ready. Why don't you change your clothes and why don't you freshen up and go in for the party? Mullah suddenly dropped his tools and said, is it dinner today? Is it tonight? Oh my, I completely forgot. I promised Ibrahim that I'm going to be there. And he rushed out to his balcony and he saw that the dinner was almost ready. The guests had arrived. In fact, they were all walking in and the food had arrived too. And there were platters of kebab and there were platters of naan and lots of sweetmeats and delicacies. And the lovely aroma of all the dishes were wafting through the air across the street and it reached Mullah's house and his nostrils, and he sniffed them and he said, Now he'd been in a shed the entire day, not worried about his food or his drink, but right now the sight of the food and the sight of the feast being almost ready to be rolled out made him salivate. And he said, all right, Aisha, I'm off to my friend's house. And he started to get out of his house. Aisha, she hit her head and said, oh no, Mullah, you can't go like this. You are dirty, you're musty, and you've got grease all over yourself. Is this the way you go to a party? You've got all your friends there. They're going to look at you and they're going to laugh at you. Come back, take a bath, get dressed, wear something nice and go for the party. And Mullah said, what rubbish. Ibrahim is a friend, an old friend, and all those who are there at the party, they are my friends too. They know me. They know the Mullah that I am and they will not be bothered about my clothes. I'm off. So Mullah decided to step out. He walked down the steps, walked across the street and reached his friend Ibrahim's house. In front of his house, in front of Ibrahim's house, there was a guard. He stood holding a staff and he bowed down to pay respect to all the guests who were coming in. And he bowed down again every time another guest. But when he saw Mullah, he looked at him and said, hello, who are you? Why are you coming here? He said, I'm Mullah Nasiruddin. I live right across the house. I've come to Ibrahim's house and I'm here for the party because he invited me for the feast. The guard said, look at you. You don't look like Mullah Nasiruddin at all. You can't come into the house. Mullah said, well, you know what? I've come to this house several times. And on several occasions, you've bowed down and you've done salam to me. What are you all about? What are you doing? What do you think you are doing right now? The guard would not move an inch. He said, "You can't enter this party. You're not fit to enter this party." Mullah was offended. Mullah Nasiruddin turned around. He walked straight back home, walked up the steps, went inside his room, went straight for a bath. He scrubbed himself clean with all the soap, and he came out, took out his finest clothes, his kurta, his pajama, his overcoat, the one that he wore at his wedding, the one that he wore on the rarest of rare occasions. He tied a big turban on his head. He sprinkled ittar on himself. He combed his eyebrows. He combed his beard. And he was ready. Aisha stood there looking at him, smiling. She knew something has changed in Mullah Nasiruddin. He came back and he decided to get dressed for the party. Mullah walked back again, walked down the steps, across the road, but this time slowly, with a lot of grandeur in his walk. And when he stood in front of the guard smiled, and he bowed down and he offered his salam to him. He said, "Please come." Mullah walked inside the house. All his friends were seated, and they all looked up at him and said, "Mullah Nasiruddin is here. Come, come, come. Salam, my friend, come." Ibrahim got up. He went and hugged his friend and said, "Come and sit next to me." Mullah sat next to Ibrahim and waited with all his poise, with all his calmness. He waited for the food to arrive. The first thing that arrived was the soup. The guests were served the soup, and they all looked at each other. They offered smiles to each other, and they said, "Let's begin." So they picked up the soup and started slurping it. The guests looked at each other and said, "What wonderful soup! The soup is so nice. We wonder what the rest of the feast is going to be like." And suddenly, everyone turned towards Mullah. You know what Mullah was doing? He picked up the soup and he poured it on his coat. And he picked up another spoonful of soup and he poured it on his shoulder. He picked up another spoonful of soup and he opened his coat and poured it inside. And then he picked up another one. He opened his other side of the coat and poured it inside. Everyone looked at Mullah Nasiruddin and they were wondering, they were bewildered, they were perplexed. What is Mullah doing? Has he gone mad? Has he lost his mind? Ibrahim said, "Mullah, you're spoiling your lovely coat. What do you think you're doing?" Mullah said, "I'm feeding my coat. I'm feeding this wonderful soup that you've served." I said, "Why on earth would you be doing that? You don't feed your clothes soup. You eat it, you drink it yourself." I said, "Well, in this party, in this feast, in your house, it is my clothes which have more honor, more respect than me. It's the coat which deserves to be here and not me." Mullah got up slowly, took off his coat. He left his precious coat, the coat that he wore for special occasions, the one that he wore for his wedding. He left it there, wet and greasy with soup, and he walked out slowly. That's the story that I tell myself every time I have a thought, whether I'm taken for the kind of clothes do I wear, the kind of work that I do. Am I more bothered about what people see in me or what I give them? A little thought at these times. Ponder over it. Ponder over it and think for yourself, what do you value more? Thank you for listening.